Hi, I'm Keith Boyle. I'm the CEO of Newfoundland Gold Corporation. We have assets in Newfoundland, Canada, and we've got the Queensway Gold Project is our flagship. We've got the Hammerdown Gold Project, which is a ramping up producing mine, and we have the Pine Cove mill, permitted mill and tailings. We're in the midst of ramping up production at Hammerdown to produce gold next year, and advancing the Queensway Gold Project to production in the latter half of 2027. All at the same time, we continue to explore a property package that has great exploration potential.
Keith, good to have you here in London. Welcome, and thanks for making time for us.
Yep.
So now you're running around the streets of London, high demand. Look, lots of news out recently, and since we last saw you, I wanted to kind of take advantage of you being here physically. Let's talk about the maritime acquisition with Hammerdown. Boots on the ground, people are off and running. However, before we get there, can you remind people about the strategic importance of why you made that acquisition, what it does for the company?
Sure. Well, maybe I'll go back and start from the beginning. When we see the deposit at Queensway, we have a very positive, unique, I'll say, characteristic of high-grade core veins. Mm-hmm. And so that high-grade core is really what we're after to get that cash flow quickly. So even if you start a small mine, we can get cash flow. So when we put out the PEA, we said we're going to start with a 700 ton a day operation at a mill somewhere in Newfoundland. Right. And we happened to be in discussions at the time, so we knew what we were targeting. And with the acquisition of Maritime, we managed to put our hands on that mill. And so we're advancing now Queensway, because we now have a mill to go to. And at the same time, Hammerdown is a mine that, it's a project, but will become a mine that poured its first gold in November. We announced the closing, or we closed on the deal on November 13th, and they announced the first pour from Hammerdown on November 12th. So, that ramp up now will continue into the first half of next year. They did a great job, but it was on a shoestring budget. And so, we've got to take the time to properly ramp it up. And then we'll have a run rate that, will generate some cash. The second part of the strategy was that cash flow would become, if you will, the equity portion of our project financing for Queensway. And so with a initial capital cost of $155 million, as outlined in our PEA, we're now in a position to look and advance that project financing. We just announced the appointment of Cutfield Freeman, well-known financial advisor in the space of project financing, and in particular debt financing. Yeah. And so we're currently now working through what the optimum project finance package will look like for the best shareholder return, and with the objective of having that in place by the end of the second quarter of next year.
Okay, well, I'm glad you mentioned them, because that's obviously an important part of your decision making going forward. They're based in London as well, so I imagine you've seen them this week.
They've got an office in Toronto.
And right, you're working with the Toronto office.
We're working with the Toronto office.
Gotcha. Okay.
They were formed here, but they have a strong office in Toronto.
Absolutely. Okay. So, but as I said, boots on the ground. You've deployed a team to get moving with.
Yes.
Right. So who and what are they charged with?
So we'll back up. When we closed on November 13th, we basically sent the SWAT team in, and it was led by Rob Asabgi, our Chief Operating Officer. And as well, we appointed a new mine manager that has very good geological background. It comes from a geological background, a good operator. And because, look, Hammerdown, and even Queensway, their mines, it's all about grade control. And so with that background, we're then really focused on proper grade control and minimizing dilution to the mill. So they're on the ground now, planning out the ramp up with the right procedures to deliver the gold to the mill.
Well, it's your build team, isn't it? I mean, that's why you've come aboard. That's why Eric brought you guys in. And this is a very important part of it. So, in terms of timelines and any specific targets that you can set for the team.
Well, what we've said is that through the first half of next year, it'll be the ramp up. I mentioned that they built it on a shoestring.
Yeah.
There's a little bit more capital to put in, not huge amounts, but enough that next year I'll say it'll fund itself to get the rest of that capital in place, and then from there on, it'll be a steady production and a good cash flow from the operation.
Right, and because they've kind of got their own sort of exploration around that is part of the strategy.
So backing up, actually moving forward, with the acquisition, we've got what they didn't have and never really put in was exploration dollars. They didn't really look at the property. So led by Melissa Render, our president, she will put a team in place to really take advantage of the great exploration potential there.
Right, so we'll start hearing some news about that next
in the new year.
Absolutely. Yep. And that was a nice segue to some of the results I saw. I think it came out today, wasn't it?
Monday.
Yesterday. I'm losing the track of time. These conferences are tough, Monday. So, super high grade, ridiculous high grade. What do we need to know about the amount of contained metal in there, and what next?
I think the main message, it was results from a grade control drilling program. So what that means is we're drilling at 5 meter centers in the area where we will begin mining. And it was only 20% of the results that we're expecting. We finished the drilling of that grade control program. Assays are coming in, and we felt it important to get those assays out right away to show people what we're getting in the area that we'll be mining right up front.
Explain that in terms of those 5 meter centers and why that's important for the kind of build process, because that data is important.
It is important. So when you mine narrow veins, and we hear the words nuggety gold and whatnot, geologists have to estimate between two data points the amount of gold between them. When you put out an initial resource, it's normal, it's natural for geologists to be conservative in the way they estimate the gold, in particular in a nuggety deposit or in a in a coarse grained gold deposit. And so with this very tight drilling pattern, we're able to then fill in the holes of that data and provide them with the information necessary to then update the resource with the appropriate level of, I'll call them constraints, in the estimate.
And when you're looking at that core coming through, is there more to come? How much more is going to
be? So we only put out 20% of our results, so we've got another 80%. So we this year we did. We're finishing 70,000 meters of drilling. 80% of that drilling is, I'll call it project related, and a portion of that is the grade control drilling specific. And the reason, like I said, I mandated it both at Keats and Iceberg. 20% is only of the Keats results, and we're still drilling at Iceberg. And so for us, it was important to make sure that, look, we know what we've got, where we're going to start mining.
It's exceptional results, and I'm sure as the data comes through, you'll start building a picture and can present that to the market. In terms of looking forward, you've done a lot in 2025. I mean, I've had a fund manager saying that to me.
We've done a few things.
You've done a few things. Well, it's been noticed because I was speaking to a couple of fund managers, and their point is these guys are doing big moves and a lot of big moves in 2025. Hopefully to set themselves up for 2026. So let's look at 2026. What are the things that you are targeting to deliver in 2026 which have real value?
I'm glad to hear that it's getting recognized. And I think if you just go back to the start of the year, we laid out a plan to execute on getting to cash flow. We put out a PEA. We said, we're going to start small, 700 tons a day. We acquired the mill. All these pieces are all part of that. And 2026, we're going to continue on that execution of getting to cash flow at Queensway. So project financing,
Yeah.
well, we'll continue to announce all the results that still are to come
Yeah.
from the drilling. Project finance by the end of Q2. We'll put together a technical report for both Hammerdown and Queensway. And then in the latter half, and permit, we'll submit our permit in the first quarter, and so permitting next year of Queensway. And then in the latter half, we expect to get permitted and start the development. We'll be ordering long lead items and, you know, all the regular construction development stuff.
Yeah.
But it'll be filled with the execution items
Yeah.
of Queensway project and the ramp up of Hammerdown.
And obviously, with the money you've raised recently, you know, you're financed to kind of advance things meaningfully
Yes.
into the new year.
Yeah,
and,
we can
and beyond.
keep, we've got good momentum and we don't see that stopping.
Right, and then just one last thing in terms of the, you know, what you're known for is going out and finding high-grade gold. There's the kind of Queensway project, which is about getting the revenue quickly,
Yep.
but, you know, working at how you're going to get after that high-grade zone and front-load that, hopefully. But looking at way into 27, 28, etc., in terms of the exploration program, do you know what you're getting after beyond that?
You're going to make me sound like one of those salesmen at 2:30 in the morning, those infomercials. But wait, there's more.
Well,
Right?
I don't mind that, but I guess your job is like, how do we piece that together and bring that together? So
Look,
that
it's
that targeted drilling model.
we're ramping up Hammerdown.
Yeah.
And Melissa will look at that whole property package by
Yeah.
putting together the technical report. We're stepping back and saying, okay, what's there?
Yeah.
Over at Queensway, no different. We're putting together an updated technical report because we will have infilled all the, you know, the pit, the resources, upgraded inferred to indicated, did the drilling of the grade control drilling. So we'll update the project,
Yeah.
but also we'll be looking at these other targets. We announced about a month ago the drill results of a target 11 kilometers north of the resource called Dropkick. Again, spectacular results that rival what we just released. And that just goes to show you how prolific that property is. And it's 11 kilometers away and it's developing into something quite good. So we'll be following up with a fulsome exploration program at Queensway.
Yeah.
And headed by Melissa Render.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you making the time for us today, Keith. And enjoy what's left of London, and we will speak to you quite soon.
Okay. Thanks, man.